So I'm cruising along at about 55 miles per hour, but my gauge is stuck at about 35. Usually it hangs out around 10 miles an hour, but it's slowly, as the drive has gone on, it's slowly been creeping up to, now it's at 35. If I knock on the gauge, I can get it to pop up, and eventually if I knock on it enough, it'll pop up to the right speed. So I'm wondering if it's the cable or if it's the actual gauge that's the problem. So, okay, I got a problem with my speedometer, and it hangs up, and also it kind of flutters. It doesn't hold a single speed. So I've been told that it's most likely the cable and maybe some grease or something that's gotten into the unit that is causing it to stick. So I'm gonna take it apart and see what I can figure out. Okay, there's two of these nuts and a retaining bracket holding it on, as well as the speedometer cable comes out through the footwell here. There's a grommet here holding it kind of in place, and then it goes down to the transmission. So you get both of these thumb screws off the back, which are difficult to get to. It's not an easy place to access, and then it should pop out through the front. Let's see. If there's enough slack in the actual cable, the speedometer cable, for it to reach. Oh, you know what? Somehow this adjuster, or the not sure if this unscrews from the bottom or what. This sets the, obviously that has to come out. The tripometer adjustment knob has to come out before I can take it out of its housing, so let me figure out how to get that apart. Okay, underneath the vehicle, there's just this one cable here to disconnect. Right here is the speedometer cable. It comes in to the angle drive, and it's just righty tighty lefty loosey, and it comes right off there. Okay, you'll most likely end up ripping the grommet when you pull out the speedometer cable. You have to detach it from the back of the speedometer unit and then pull it through the tunnel here. And it doesn't want to come, so I'll probably have to push it through from the other side. So I sent my speedometer off to get professionally repaired. The needle for the speed was flickering a lot when I would be holding a steady speed, and also it would get stuck intermittently at different speeds as it accelerated. So got it back, and now I'm just testing it out. I got a new cable, speedometer cable, and I hooked it up to my drill. If you're going to do this, make sure the drill is in reverse, and then you can slowly start the drill, and as you speed up the drill, it should hold a nice steady speed. So be careful with the drill that you don't, I wouldn't probably jam it full on. Make sure it's a variable drill, and I wouldn't just pull off the trigger and make it go to 0 immediately, because you might mess up some of the internal workings here. So just slowly accelerate the drill and then decelerate the drill, and make sure you don't do it too long while you're testing it out, because obviously you're building mileage as you run the drill and run the speed, and you're getting your mileage counter off every second you do that. So that's it. I'm gonna install it. It looks like it is great. The guys did a good job on it, and it was done. Let's see if I can get a picture of this. It was done by JDO Instruments in the UK, and I'll put their information down in the description. They did a great job on it. Had a wonderful price for the repair, and gave me a new bezel with it free of charge, and even put on some new gaskets. And so it's looking great, and I'm going to install it, and I'll show you that in a little bit. I went underneath the car trying to fit the new speedometer cable. Obviously it goes from the right angle drive here up into the vehicle. The hole into the vehicle through the firewall is up past the transmission here, and it's kind of difficult to get to, so you kind of have to thread it through a couple places and maneuver it up through the hole. You can't pass it back down through the hole because of the ends. The end that goes down to the right angle drive is too big to fit through the hole, and this one that goes on the speedometer side is small enough, but you have to do it from the bottom, obviously. So this new cable has this ring that screws onto the back. This ring here that screws onto the back of the speedometer, but it doesn't stay up at the top. So what I'm going to do is take some electrical tape and tape it around here to hold it up there. Also, I'm going to close the end here to protect the inner workings as it goes through the transmission tunnel and into the vehicle, so it doesn't pick up any dirt or anything on its way up. Okay, so basically you gotta weave the cable. You can see the cable there up through the hole. So I did that, and then I just kind of rested up here so that it doesn't fall back through. And now I can go up to the top and fish it through some more. Okay, you can see the speedometer cable that I fished through actually came up and went around the steering column, so I'll fix that. Okay, and just pull it up through here. You can see the end that I put some tape around to make it so that it doesn't get any gunk in there, and also to keep this top nut from falling down the cable as I fed it through the hole in the transmission tunnel. You can see the hole in the transmission tunnel back there. I got a new grommet that'll go through there. We'll see how easy that is to get around this fitting here on the end, it might not be possible. I might have to cut the grommet and then feed it around the cable itself. The other thing that they mention for reinstallation of the cable, make sure you pull the cable, the inner cable, out of the outer sheath and get a lint-free cloth and remove all the excess oil that's on the cable from the manufacturing process. And then do not re-oil it when you reinsert it. So you don't want the excess oil on there. I guess it can get into the actual speedometer and foul up the system. So just pull it out. It's very easy to pull out. I'll show you here in a second how you can do that, and then just wipe it down with a terry cloth or something to remove the excess oil. Okay, you can see here on the cable that you can remove the inner cable from the outer cable. You can only do that through the speedometer side of the cable because of this this brass fitting here that kind of locks it in place. It also says to measure the extruded part of the inner cable here to make sure there's no more than so make sure the spec is between 10.5 millimeters to 12.5 millimeters of extended cable outside of the brass or nylon fitting here, so that it doesn't have too much cable being poked into the back of the speedometer. So again, you can just pull this out very easily and then feed it back in after you've taken the excess oil off of it. And I'm gonna I think it'll be much easier to fit the speedometer side of the cable, so I'm not going to attach the right angle drive on the transmission housing yet. I'm going to fit this side and then do that, do the bottom last. Okay, inside of the behind the dash, I've run the cable up over, there's a bar that goes across the width of the car. You can see the blue bar down here, right here. So I've run it over that bar because the attachment point on the back of the speedometer is right in the middle of the speedometer, and I don't want a large, you don't want to kink this speedometer cable at all, as little as possible. You want nice round bends to it. So make sure it flows up to the speedometer from the transmission in as smooth a fashion as you can make it as you're routing it through each of the different parts. Okay, even though there's not a lot of space behind the dash to get your hand up there and reattach everything, the easiest way to do this is to leave the trip reset knob attached as you put the unit back together, because you have to, in order to attach the little tiny pin that goes on the trip reset knob, you need some needle nose pliers, and getting all that back in here is going to be even tougher than trying to connect the all of the cables and everything once it's installed. So you can install the push the two lights through. There's a bottom light that goes to the high beam indicator on the front, and there's the top light that just illuminates the unit when the lights are on, but I'm going to just attach those from the back. There's enough room to get my hand up back there, so what I'm going to do is just slide this in, make sure the trip gauge or the trip knob goes down through the bottom, and it should poke out down the bottom here. I've kind of moved a lot of these wires out of the way, so I'll do some wire management after, just to make sure everything's clean again. But so now underneath, let me show you that. Actually, if you can leave the unit slightly are tilted outside of the dash, so that you can see what you're doing back there as you reach your hand up. So that's probably the easiest. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Leave it like this with a crack so I can see what I'm doing, and then attach the two lights and the drive cable to the back of the unit. Alright, after a little bit of fiddling and some arm gymnastics trying to get my hand back there, it went pretty smoothly. I got all the cable and the two lights attached. The only last part is to put the part on that holds the unit in, and that's this bracket right here and these two thumb screws. So that goes on the back like this, back from the back. It's got this rounded part right here that goes around the cable, and then the two bolts on the back go through these holes, and it holds the unit tight to the dash. Alright, when connecting the gauge or putting the mounting bracket and thumb screws on, don't forget there's a ground line on the back, so attach that ground line to one of the mounting bolts, and then screw it on or tighten it on with one of the thumb screws. So that's it. Now I'll go down below and attach the cable to the transmission, and we'll be done. Okay, the angle drive is the last part to connect. It's pretty easy. Just the inner cable goes into the angle drive, and then the thumb screw or the threads get threaded on there. Make sure there's no kinks in the line as it goes up. And now I'll go up back inside of the car and attach or put the rubber grommet in the around the cable. So as I was saying earlier, this rubber grommet might not fit around the thumb screw at the end of the speedometer cable. So what I did, it is kind of a harder rubber, so it doesn't flex too much or doesn't expand too much. So I just put a slit in it, so now I can fit it around the cable and then push it into the spot in the firewall where so it'll fit. And it looks like the company did a good job. It's all fixed and holds pretty steady at the right mile an hour.